innovation, let me tell you, there was a study in 2009. I talk about this all the time because it's very, very important to show you the direction this country is going, and to show you, what the young adults here are going to be faced with, the next generation. They rated the top 40 industrialized nations for innovative competitiveness. The United States ranked 6th. And they then rated the same 40 nations for what they were doing to be innovative in the future. And the United States ranked dead last. Dead last. That is frightening. That is frightening for our country when we are creating the debt that we are creating. Now 33% of the debt we owe is owed to foreign nations. Innovation happens when people take risks, from entrepreneurs, from people who had an idea and they weren't afraid to go out and make something happen. That's what made this country so great. We're taking that away. We're taking that opportunity away. Who's talking about starting a new business on a new idea? Not many people, because we're afraid of our government. We're afraid of what our government's going to do. I am part of the Young Guns program. It is a program that was started by Paul Ryan, Eric Cantor, and Kevin McCarthy. And it was a program where they went out to certain candidates. You had to meet different benchmarks. And we're going to Washington to change Washington, and that's Republicans and Democrats alike, and to return those freedoms and get this country going again, and return those freedoms so that we do not have a government that's going to control your health, that's going to
control your education through the student loans.
Everything. In the healthcare bill, they want to control student loans.
It's
a power grab.
I talked to Alan Grayson hours before the final vote. It's good I didn't know who he was when I spoke with him, because I'd be sitting in jail. I spoke to him, I asked him, with government taking over student loans, and this is how invasive and how insidious these people are that we have, and why it's critical that we vote for Lou and the other Republicans. I asked him, I said, with the government taking over student loans, is there any chance that they're going to maybe tell people what they should be studying and where they should be going to school? His response to me was, not right now. So you better believe the student loan takeover was linked to health care so that they could force people into the medical field. As long as the government's covering it, they're going to tell you what money's available for. Force people into the medical field so that they can force them into capped salaries to take care of the 30 million people that we're supposed to be paying for, because heaven forbid we do anything successful in this country. So it's so critical that
that's why this election is so important, because there's two different visions, as I said, for America. Paul Kondrasky agrees with the road we're on. He's voted with Nancy Pelosi 97% of the time. He voted for health care. In fact, she said it was his vote that put the health care bill over the top. He voted for the bailouts. He voted for TARP. We will continue on that road. And until we change directions, and again, we fire those in Washington that believe that the government is the answer, we are headed for some...
On health care, you have said that your approach is going to be defund right now, because we know that unless we have 2/3 majority in both houses, we can't repeal.
Right.
When we get to 2012 and get the rest of the cancer out, then there are two approaches. One is repeal, and one is repeal and replace. Do you have a position, and are you willing to come back and talk to your constituents to discuss and explain, and what is your relationship with your constituents going to be? And then I'm done, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, I believe we need to defund now and then repeal, and then replace it with something that makes sense, common sense healthcare reform, to make healthcare more affordable. That's what Americans wanted. They wanted a healthcare plan that was more affordable, and there's ways that we can do that. Now, I believe there's some things in this healthcare bill that we can all agree on. And why not just pass that? Why not pass parts of the healthcare bill that there's bipartisan support, pass it in increments, such as making sure anyone with a pre-existing condition cannot be denied health insurance. We can agree with that.
But are you gonna force the insurance companies to cover them at the same cost as they cover a healthy person or a person that's been on? Because that's where you get into the quagmire of the insurance companies going out of business because they can't afford, either we pay for it.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, the healthy subsidized.
what happened to us as individuals? Let us do what we do best as Americans. We'll let you know when we need you.
Right.
But,
Well, I can
and
tell
that's
you,
what I'm
to
concerned
answer the
about.
last part as well, as I said when I started, this doesn't end on November 2nd. What we're doing here tonight, we're going to continue to do, and I'll tell you that I am going to be here listening to you, talking to you, telling you, I will not pass a bill that I didn't read. That's the first thing.
You keep saying, unintended part of this bill, and an unintended part of that. I personally feel that it's all well-intentioned on their part. They know exactly what they're doing. They're supposed to be the most intelligent people that was elected in the last 50 years. They know what they're doing to our Constitution. They know what they're doing to our health care and our business, people in business, you know.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to fight to make sure that politicians in Washington aren't making decisions on your health care. It's your doctor in the doctor's office with you that should be making your health care decisions, not politicians in Washington, that's for sure.
Yes, I'm currently finishing up my master's degree. I'm also an Iraq war veteran. Several problems that I'm really starting to see with the country is I left to serve the United States of America. And currently we have an administration, and the reason why we have 11 states suing the United States right now, or suing the state of Arizona, is because they believe that international law trumps the United States Constitution. That is currently being pushed in all of our law schools, is being pushed in our universities. We also have, many of our universities are also pushing socialist ideas. We have American-born professors and foreign-born professors who are here making a good paycheck in America, and while they're taking the benefits, they're demeaning and destroying the very system in which they're benefiting from. They are raising an entire generation of students to be vipers. They're only waiting for these people to grow up to take their place. Right now, liberals make up 20% of the United States. Once they have the rest of our children, they will make up 60 or 70% and will be having the same problems that France is having right now. The problems that we are having in Arizona with 20 million illegals, that's because they don't want to seal the border. Because the socialist governments in South America, and I just had this discussion with a gentleman from Ecuador this weekend, told me their governments have told them that because they were indigenous peoples and Europeans came here after Columbus and stole from them, they have the right to come take it back. 20 million people is invasion and colonization with the biggest plundering and shipment of our wealth to other countries. What is happening to the country that I left to go fight for? That my father went to fight in Vietnam for? That my grandfathers fought in World War II for, and my great-grandfathers fought in World War I? Where's my country going, and what's my son going to have left? When we're being destroyed not only from enemies from without, we're being undermined from within. You can't survive. You can defend yourself from one assault, but how can you survive yourself when the person next to you inside your own country is waiting to stab you in the back, put on their socialist armband, and invite the hordes in to plunder our nation?
What you're doing for us. And I can tell you, as just one mayor in a small town, I did everything that I could to protect our country against illegal immigration and those that are invading our country. I stood there alone when no one in this country stood up. And I can tell you, I'm going to fight this in the halls of Congress to make sure that this country's borders are safe. And also, I can tell you this, I'm going to fight to make sure that foreign terrorists are treated as enemy combatants and not given
Thank you. Two questions. Basically, I came late and I apologize. I was actually at a union meeting. And but I know you spoke somewhat on taxes, and I'd like to know your opinion personally on a federal sales tax. Working in law enforcement, I understand the sub-economy in this country is outrageous, whether it's in the narcotic realm or the commodities realm. And we are missing taxing that in any way, shape, or form. I'd like to understand what your position is on that. I wish the state would revisit that because I see thousands of dollars in people's pockets and being spent every day that is illegally never taxed. So I'd like to know what your position is on, and on the securing, do you support securing our borders?
I do support it. And I don't think there's anyone in the United States that doesn't know how I feel about it. I think you're talking about the fair tax.
Yes, exactly.
Is what you're talking about. For anyone that doesn't understand the fair tax, what it does is it eliminates all the embedded taxes and replaces it. There would be no federal taxes at all. There would be no payroll taxes. There would be no federal taxes at all. There would be no IRS because you wouldn't pay any. That's what the fair tax is. And then what it does, it replaces all the taxes that all the federal taxes and replaces them with the sales tax on the products on the end of it. And the reasoning. What do you say?
Even if it was progressive, as I'd also support that, also like a 1% federal sales tax to attack the deficit, earmark it directly for that.
And the people that support the fair tax, you know, what they say, the pros of it is that, for example, drug dealers obviously aren't reporting their income at the end of the year. They would pay taxes on everything they buy. Tourists, when they come to the United States, would pay taxes on everything they buy. Illegal immigrants who are here, who may be being paid cash under the table, would pay. So you would have more payers. Now, I can tell you the people who oppose that, what their concern is and their fear is that they would not eliminate all of the other taxes, and that people would be double taxed. So you would have to, before that idea could move forward, you'd have to have a constitutional amendment eliminating the ability, right, to add any other taxes, because I can tell you politicians will find a way to throw that other tax on there, and that's what the pros and cons of that is.
Good evening, sir. Have you and your mates in the Young Guns developed a strategy for dealing with the leadership? If you go down there to Washington and you take a position, a hard position on the points that we discussed here,
Right.
you can be picked off by the leadership and find yourself on the committee to examine Christmas of the year 2030 or something. Have you discovered a way to band together to
Yes.
to protect yourselves
Yes.
from retaliation and that sort of thing?
Part of the idea of the Young Guns program was for like-minded people like myself and others here who believe the same, that we've got to go to Washington and change Washington, and that's Democrats and Republicans, not just one party. The fact that there are so many of us, there are 62 Young Guns now, and we will be part of those already in Congress who also feel the same way as I do. So we won't be going there and sitting in the last row. We're going to be at the table because it will be a group of us that will be demanding that Washington changes, because that's what people want. And you know, there's so much talk about the Tea Party, and I don't believe, like Congressman Kondrasky believes, that that town hall meetings are just nuts with cameras who ask stupid questions. I don't believe that. That was one of the reasons he didn't want to do town hall meetings. You got a young man, unfortunately, the only one that was sent the camera has been Congressman Kondrasky sent the camera here to film me, and I don't think he's a nut.
He's at the library right now.
But my point is that we're going to go to Washington to make a change. We're going to go to Washington to return our government back to the people, because that's what they when we talk about the Tea Party, I'm going to tell you, they're not going away on November 2nd. And so that the people they send to Washington to represent them, they're going to hold their feet to the fire, that when we go to Washington, we do what we say we're going to do. There's going to be a new person a new type of elected official going there, because the American people aren't going to sit back any longer. I don't believe that.